Hey guys, Noodle here. So today I just wanted to cover how I created buildings for my new Tower Blocks building pack, which you can find on my Patreon. And I just wanted to go over some of the techniques I kind of developed to create buildings like this. But again, if you want to go and just download these buildings and use them for your own scene, there's a link below to my Patreon. You'll be able to access all of the buildings, a bunch of other assets, so definitely go check that out if that's something you're interested in. But for this video, I'm just going to be showing kind of some of the techniques, the ways I kind of add details, the textures I like to use, just the overall process to create buildings like this. So I'm still going to use that Blender scene that all the buildings are in, just so I can access all the textures right away. It would be good if you know already some basic stuff about texturing and modeling. That's going to help you along the way, but you don't need to be super skilled to create buildings like this, and I'm going to be showing a bunch of techniques. Let's just start off. I'm going to start off by blocking out the shape of my building. I like to also have random selected under color for the objects. It's just so when I go and add another object, it'll have a different color. Kind of makes it easier to see everything in solid view. Yeah, I just have that on so I can just start kind of creating a very basic shape for my building, just something that I can kind of use as a rubric. So I just want to create some basic shapes, just have something very easy to kind of build off of. So I'm just going to keep adding cubes. And again, I'm just making everything basically out of just cubes. Gonna do something kind of interesting there, maybe. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about that. You know what would actually be kind of cool? If I go and take this, and then I bevel them, Control B. I always forget this, screencast keys. I'm gonna turn them on so you can see what I'm doing down here. Just gonna basically creating a T-cross. It's probably a convoluted way of doing it, but you know, who cares? I'm gonna select these inside faces. Again, yeah, this is extremely a convoluted way to do it, but I'm having fun, so why not? Also, this is gonna come in handy later. If you select a face and you hit Shift G, coplanar, selects all the same faces, and they have a whole bunch in this menu. You can play around, see what they all kind of do. Very useful tool. Shift G will get you there. Something fun. Select one of the cubes, make sure you hit Control A and scale. You can take an edge and just bevel it, and if you add a bunch of segments, you have a nice rounded edge, which looks really nice. I might even actually go as far as doing it to both. Yeah, just something kind of interesting going on. The last thing I kind of do before I officially get into detailing is I start to add like roof cubes, I guess would be the word for it. You'll see kind of what I'm doing with this. Just the large ones, obviously we're gonna add more roof details, but that tends to work really nice just to get a quick result kind of going. You can also do the same by selecting one of the shapes, going into edit mode. Always apply scale, Control A. Not rotation though. You can just lift it up. And you can kind of already see, like, I mean, they're not necessarily detailed at all yet, and they're not really figured out, but as you can see, it's already kind of something. And we can kind of imagine what it's going to be by the time we're done. Sometimes overlapping shapes kind of look nice. Yeah, I like that, actually. I like that. And I also sometimes add a loop cut right along the middle of these shapes. I just go, and then you kind of have something cool going on there. You know what I might actually do? Let's put this right under it like that. I might even make this one a lot smaller. I said we weren't doing small roof pieces, but had an inspiration, figured why not, you know? All right, cool. So as you can see, I mean, it's super basic still, but this kind of gives you somewhere to kind of go. I'm gonna show one technique over here. This is a very easy technique for creating sort of like building structures. So if I take this, I'm also gonna take my human, go slash, and then I'm essentially just gonna measure it to be the height of one floor, going about right there, about twice the height of the person. And then I'm gonna set my width now. So now I have my height set, and now I just have to set how like wide I want this. And what we're gonna do is essentially create one floor first. So I delete the top and bottom faces. We're gonna create one floor and then use an array modifier to extend that. And then we're gonna do some texturing tricks to actually vary the textures and get everything linked. So you'll see kind of how the process comes together. But first things first, treating this like one floor, I'm gonna go select this bottom loop, ES, Shift, Z, yeah. So extrude, scale along everything but the Z axis. I'm gonna bring it in like that, and like that, and you're gonna see what I'm doing in a second. Pretty easy technique to get like a really cool looking building. I'm gonna extrude up, add a loop cut, bring it to the edge. With my human for scale, I'm gonna bring this up to about a railing height. And as you can see, I've created a little balcony, and again, we're gonna array everything, so it's gonna be pretty easy to add details. I'm gonna isolate to just this, And now we're gonna add our windows. And to do that, basically just adding loop cuts like that. Cool amount on the other side. And then what we do is essentially just select all of these individual windows. Control B, just to bevel. You can tweak it with this. And then I'm gonna go and add another loop cut right in the middle and bevel that. And then I can set my window heights. And yeah, there we go. So what I can do now is I can just select each one of these windows. I'm gonna get out of edit mode. I'm gonna add the plaster material, which is a texture I got off of textures.com. I just set up the basic PBR materials. And you'll see it's not unwrapped. None of that matters right now. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hit up here and switch to individual origins and global to normal. And then I'm just gonna hit E, and then you'll see everything goes in. And then this is very important. I'm gonna add another material, and I'm gonna add my windows. I've been using this one primarily the most, and I'm gonna hit assign. That's all you need to do for now, because the next thing we're going to do is add an array. And I know it's not unwrapped, it doesn't look very good, but trust me, this will work. And then merge it with that, and then it erase. So now, you'll see what happens if we see in solid view. You'll see how fast the building kind of comes together. We've created really easy balconies. We still have to do, obviously, unwrapping, and they look super stretched and awful, but, you know, I'm about to show you a trick that makes all that really easy. We're pretty much done using the array, and we can just apply it. And then a quick trick is select everything, and then hit M by distance, and it merges all the vertices that are touching, so everything is relinked. So every floor is connected as one object. Select everything and just hit select, and now only our plaster is selected. Again, Control A, scale outside of edit mode. Make sure your scale is applied before you do this. But I'm gonna select just the plaster material. Again, I can just have everything unselected, have my plaster right over here and hit select. And then I'm just gonna hit U, cube projection. And just like that, that's unwrapped. Now for the windows, you might wanna try the same thing, but that's not gonna work all the same. So if I select all these and I were to cube project, you're gonna see it's gonna get a bunch of random windows, and they're all not lined up correctly. Again, this is a window texture from textures.com. It's a bunch of skyscraper windows. There's an easy way to actually go about getting these correct and not having to go window by window and placing them where you want them. So what I like to do is, again, select them by the material, and then I like to go into the UV editor. I'm already in it. Gotta find the correct window. This is the only really annoying part, is always finding this window texture. That's the one. Okay, and then I'm gonna hit U, reset. And now you'll see everything one size. They're all overlapping. They're all the exact same thing cloned a million times. But why I wanted to do that is I can just scale all of them with all of them selected, kind of get them how I want them. And there you go, they're all lined up. There's still that big problem of all the windows are the exact same thing, and it's pretty obvious, it's super repetitive. So it might seem like it would be kind of hard, like, okay, well, we're back at the same problem. I gotta go window by window and move them, and that's gonna be really annoying. So what we're gonna do is have them all selected, and then I'm gonna go spacebar, select, random, and that's gonna select a bunch of random faces. Don't freak out, don't click anything. And go to action down here with this pop-up menu. If this disappears, just unselect everything and open up select random again. But if you see this little drop-down menu, go to select and hit deselect. So now it's gonna randomly deselect the faces we had selected. And then, easy enough, I can just go G, X, and now we have a bunch of variants. So once again, I'm gonna select all the windows, select random, deselect, and then I'm gonna once again move them. And you just keep doing this process. Select random, deselect a bunch, now I'm gonna move up a floor. You just keep going, and the more you go, the more randomized everything's gonna get. And that should be good. Now we have a bunch of varied windows, and it looks great. I should have done these sides, but that's not a big deal. But as you can see, already along the modeling and texturing process, it's been kind of overlapped, and we've been able to create everything really easily. Yeah, I'm just gonna add a quick roof. Nothing too crazy, just a cube. Yeah, once again, just some cubes up here, creating space for antennas and different details and things like that. But now I'm gonna actually show how to go about all these buildings where you don't have the luxury of an array by default, and show you how it's actually pretty easy just to set that up yourself and, you know, basically kind of reverse the process. I'm gonna essentially go and scale this down to be one floor. And again, we're gonna add this back up, and then the rooftop assets we added, we're gonna realign. But those are actually great because they act kind of as markers. Do a little bit taller because it's kind of more of a tower blocky type of shape. And once again, that coplanar thing comes in handy. I hit Shift G, coplanar, and faces, and then same for the bottom, coplanar. And this time I'm just gonna add some little square windows, I'm thinking. And then once again, I'm going to just Control A, scale. I'm gonna select all these edges. And then once again, add another loop cut through the middle. An easy way to go and quickly select all these window panes is I can go Shift G and go area, and it'll select everything that's the same size. So all these windows that I made as cutouts, they're gonna work. Once again, make sure to switch from global to normal, from medium point to individual origins. Hit E, and then extrude them in how much you want them extruded. Yeah, and that's perfect. And then before you array, make sure to add your plaster texture first, and then still have all these selected. Add another material, select your window, and hit assign. And then decide how many floors you want. And here I kind of laid out how many floors I want automatically, so I just go up until I'm happy, and that should be the distance I need. I'm going to apply the array modifier. I'm going to select everything, hit M by distance. That merges all these together, because you'll see, actually I'll show, if you look along the edges, none of these are actually connected. These are all like still their own shape. So when I go to unwrap them, they're each going to be unwrapped, overlapped with each other, and it's not going to be seamless. It's not going to feel like it's one connected building. So M by distance, they're all one shape now, and then the textures will actually work. And again, I'm going to select the plaster, U, cube projection, and it's done. Just like that. It's really that easy. I mean, that it can't get much easier than that, you know? I'm going to select the windows, U, reset so that they're all one, scale them to the size that I need them, and then again select random. It'll deselect because I already have my settings set, and then I'm just gonna go GX, select random, GX, select random, and you know, you get the pattern. It's just over and over and over again. And another building's basically done, you know. And then just to the top, I'm just gonna go select around this loop, and an easy way, honestly. I mean, you could do like some weird insetting or something to make that work, but sometimes it's just easier just to go and do it manually. Oh, I'll actually do that with a plane. That would be a lot easier. And I can scale it so that's the size I need. So a little bit wider than the roof, because it's gonna be our rooftop. And then I'm just gonna add a loop cut and a loop cut, and I'm gonna bevel them both, and then just delete these 4 faces. Oh, also sometimes you need to view face orientation to make sure when you're extruding something up. Because if you do that, then it's all red, and the normals are flipped the wrong way, so I like to turn that on. And yeah, right, like that, you got a rooftop. And I do the same thing right down here, actually. I'm gonna take this and move this down to here as well. And also, sometimes you can add shops and stuff. These buildings are kind of designed to be looked at from the sky or higher, but you can go and create shops down there too. And that's something I would do more with like photogrammetry, just take pictures of shops, slap them onto cubes and build them up around the bottom. That can be an easy way to do that. But these buildings are great for like stuff from the distance, or just to fill out a city scene super fast. That's what I've been using them for, because they might not look good right here, but they look great from here, you know. And another material I also had was concrete tiles. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, I've been using that material a lot also. And yeah, and you can see, I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect to look pretty good, you know, to kind of get a result that you're going to be able to use. Already a good chunk of these buildings done, and I haven't really spent all that much time. It's been relatively easy to kind of go from cubes to nearing on final details. So at this point, I'm just going to go through, kind of time-lapse everything so you can see sort of the process. I'm just going to go and finish all these, and then we can move on to detailing. So now that I've gone over the basic technique and just kind of how to create these different shapes using that simple array technique, we're going to go through and do the rest. I don't think I have to cover that fully in detail, but I'll just go over the rest of these buildings, and then we'll move on to detailing the building, and then we'll be able to call it finished. Okay, so I just imported the assets that I created that I used to detail the buildings. Most of these assets are pretty simple, nothing too crazy going on. I mean, just the AC machines are really just pictures of AC machines printed on. They're really simple. They're just, you know, AC machines, vents, things like that. This I kind of compiled from a picture of like a house. I think this is part of it. And I basically built sort of this rooftop asset, a couple AC machines. It's just printing textures onto things and then adding a little bit of modeling, but really simple. But as for the antennas, it's mainly just creating like these triangular shapes, cylinders, things like that, and using the wireframe. Wireframe modifier is basically the easiest way to go and make all this stuff. And then I just slapped some simple textures on it. You know, I made these like little dishes for it, boxes. But again, it's meant to look good from here, not from really like here. So the whole point is that you can add a bunch of these. Another thing you can do, which I didn't do with these apparently, these might be older, but this is a good example to show. You can go, let me show it right here. You could go shrink down a piece like that, like a cube, and you can add an emission texture, set the color to red, and pump that up to like 15, and you basically have like a little beacon. I just have all these assets, so now we're actually going to go about placing it on the buildings. An easy way to have it so that you don't have to go aligning everything by hand like that, you can go up to this magnet tool, click it on, and then go to face project, and then make sure rotate and scale aren't selected. So essentially you can just attach them. And I always set the origins also to the bottom faces. If you don't know how to do that, all you have to do is, let's say we have like an isolated asset. This is already there, but like let's say I set the origin to geometry. Now if I try to place it, you'll see it won't really, it'll merge from that point, and that's not what I want. So all you have to do is just select the bottom face, hit Shift S, cursor to select it, and then right click, set origin to 3D cursor. And now the magnet tool will just allow you to quickly go and place it. And again, it's really easy to go and kind of slap these around the scene. That face project makes it a lot easier. And honestly, they're so easy to make. For example, if I were to just like add a cube, and then let's say I, you know, randomly extruded some shapes, you'll see what happens is if I add a triangulate and then a wireframe, it'll, and I just increase the thickness, just creates scaffolding automatically. And the triangulate's important, or else I get these. So you can do either way. And if you don't like that it only does one line through the middle like that, you can also take that away and select all the faces, and then just space and look up poke faces, and then it does X's, which is kind of cool. So again, really easy to create a lot of these antennas. I just did a couple, but you can obviously go as far as you want, make an entire pack. So yeah, pretty easy. I can also go and I could go ahead and take this beacon up here, duplicate it, and then I'm gonna separate it by selection and set its origin to geometry. I can actually go basically select points and then have this move to there, and then the buildings have those nice red dots on the corner. Again, I can do it there, and you can see really easily I can get little beacons for the buildings. I also forgot one thing, something I really like to do, and I'll have to readjust the antennas, but it's not a big deal, is I like to take the rooftop pieces, and I can't believe I haven't already done this, and I just inset them a little bit and just pull it down just a little bit. Again, I'm gonna have to readjust a couple things like that. You know, no big deal. Love to do that because it just kind of enhances everything, just adds the littlest detail, and a lot of the times those little details that really don't take up a lot of render time will go a far way, as you can already see. Looks really nice. And yeah, just go around insetting little things. But now I can just take these rooftop assets and just place them around wherever I'd kind of like. And again, these are really tiny details, but they're super low poly, so they're not really going to take up a ton of render space. And you can see just from looking at that, that little detail kind of comes through when you're even out here. See the little dot, and you know, it can really create a good impression. So I always like to just go around and add as much of this stuff as possible. Yeah, and once again, these little details will really come through for the entire piece as a whole. Might seem like it's very time-taking depending on the size of your buildings or how many buildings you're trying to create, but it's always worth it. And you might not think you see it in the render, but you really do. I can also do AC machines. And obviously you can go further too, even so far as pipes and stuff like that. You know, if you do it using the curve modifiers and, you know, just draw out some edges, you can get a lot of stuff going really quick. and it won't really take up too much computing power, so you should be pretty good. Again, try not to be too repetitive. It all just depends, because the more you add, the better. Honestly, I mean, I could keep going further, but I think the point is kind of there, and I'm honestly pretty happy with this as is. I kind of saw putting AC machines all along the side, but sometimes you just got to look at it and just be like, okay, this is looking pretty good. I might go back and add some scaffolding and different details, but ultimately you get the idea. You know, cover your rooftops and little assets. You can do the same on the side with AC machines. I also did these sheets of big scaffolding. You can actually see right here on some of the buildings. I did these scaffolds, and again, just like the AC machines, I just did basically just planes with texture slapped on them and a solidified modifier. This was one of the more advanced pieces I made for details. I used a wireframe modifier with a cube, and then I put these little panels with like rusty sheets on top, and then I was able to place these all over the windows, and you know, came out really nice. I also did these rooftops, added some vents from those. It all really depends on how far you want to go. So that's basically my process for creating these tower block style buildings. If you guys like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And also, if you go over to my Patreon, you're going to be able to access this asset along with all the others you saw in the video. All these right here, all the antennas, all the little pieces, plus other stuff. So make sure to go check that out. You'll be able to see all the tutorials in the series and not have to wait. All the assets to download, everything right over there. So make sure to go check that out. Hope you guys have a good one, and thanks for watching.